Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us at the MarketSite studio, we have Fausto Pugliese, President of Cyber Trading University. We're going to take a look at how to use Nasdaq BookViewer in today's market environment to help establish levels of support and resistance. Fausto, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks. And we have a number of stocks to get through today. I want to talk about Intel, and we can take a look how these orders are being filled.
Yeah, you know, it's good to be back, Jill. And what's nice about it is that a lot of people think that with Nasdaq Total View that you can only use them for small cap stocks, but they're also very popular with big brand name stocks. And for one of the examples to show you, Intel obviously had some big news. There was some really nice examples on the on Total View. And if you look at the chart really quick, you'll notice that there was some really big resistance levels right around that 3115. Every Total View stock looks a little bit different. Like when you look at the left, there's a lot of like small orders on some brand name stocks, but then you get like this really substantial order of 27,000 shares right around the 2325. And then what you'll notice, that big seller kind of like gave it that big resistance and they didn't want to break it out. So what happens is a lot of people don't realize that when you're looking at support and resistance levels, you have to know where those big orders are because those resistance levels do not exist unless those sellers are out there.
Right, and we can see that on the next slide where it drops down to 33.
Yes, so you could see it, and it was a big substantial drop, and some people like to call that like a double top. They don't know what that means, triple bottom, but it's not about the double tops. It's about that big seller on Nasdaq Total View is holding it up. And when you have 2,000 share sellers, 100 shares, 10 shares, you're talking 27,000. That's a lot on a stock like Intel. And if you're not prepared for that, you can see how the stock drops substantially. You know?
Yeah, and if we move along, you know, to the next one here,
which is Bed Bath & Beyond.
Bed Bath & Beyond, which really, I mean, talk about some interesting trading in that name. And you know what I love about when we take a look at how you do your trades through BookViewer, it doesn't even necessarily matter what the news might be because we can conjecture back and forth, you know, why these things are happening fundamentally, but this is really what's happening in the marketplace. These are where the buyers and the sellers meet.
And what's nice about Bed Bath & Beyond, it's been in the news all over. Even today came out with big news about them closing a bunch of stores, and it was a really nice short. But this stock was one of the meme stocks, one of those Wall Street bet stocks. And regardless of what it was a really big short squeeze. Huge run up on this stock. I mean, this thing in the past week literally ran from almost like, I believe, $35 in a very short period of time, up over, I don't know, 200%, 200%. But what's nice about this stock is another thing, just like Intel. You see you have the three columns over here, the orders, the shares, the bid. You could see that not a lot of orders, not a lot of shares, but when you get to that $18 sell order, you're talking 59,000 shares. I mean, look at 10 shares, 1 share, 34, that's not a lot. But that's a very substantial resistance, and you could see it on the chart where I kind of kept it very simple. No indicators, nothing there, just a simple candlestick. And when it hit it, the stock went from 18 all the way down to 17.
Right, and if we move along to the next slide here, we can see, you know, exactly how with Bed Bath & Beyond, where you know it's looking to really make its moves here, as you've identified on the line chart here.
Well, just remember, Jill, it doesn't take, you know, that much to run the stock up when there's not that many shares out there. If people are showing 10 shares, 100 shares, someone who wanted a block of 10,000, it will run the price up pretty fast because you can only buy what someone's willing to sell when you look at the total view. And in this example, when you had 18 orders out there and 59,000 shares, and someone actually executed that order, that stock ran in a matter of what? Less than 10 minutes? Ran from $18 all the way up to $20, which is a substantial run when a 60,000 share order like that gets filled.
Right, it certainly is. And moving along to our next thing here, you know, what I like about this chart that you're showing here is that when you talk about different breakout levels, right? And this helps you to, you know, again, identify where the volume is taking place, because I could see here you're talking about a false breakout and it failed, but if you would have looked at the actual viewer, you would have been able to see really where the volume is.
And the way that works, Jill, is that the problem when it comes to having a game plan, they have to know where the next resistance level is. So everyone's always more focused on the past, but they don't focus on the future. And when you look at Bed Bath & Beyond, right. Once we broke through that big iceberg order that was at that 18, it came up to that 20, and then from that 20, there was another big order, which you could see of 58 at 20, and then once that person got done, this stock ran all the way up to, was at 20, was that $24, $28 a share? I mean, just like that in a blink of an eye. And some people are like, why did it go up so fast in a short period of time? Why did it run up? Well, like I just said earlier, when you have big block orders like that showing up on total view, and if they get executed and there's no one out there anymore, guess what? It's only going higher.
Right.
That's why you have to follow the money.
Well, let's go. Our last two stocks are actually some pretty interesting day trading stocks, and some of them I don't even, have never heard about. And then I'll see you come in here and we're talking about Total View and BookViewer, and I'm like, oh, this is a new symbol to me.
Yeah.
But Minerva, ticker NERV, really was making the rounds on the desks on Friday for sure.
It was, and you know what? With the market being down so much, you're like, oh, the market was down 1,000 points. There's nothing to trade. But there are a lot of stocks there to trade, and that's what's nice about looking through the big percentage gainers and losers, because this stock did pop up as one of the big percentage gainers, and it was a really nice move stock. Here's a stock that started right around $6, and in a matter of, within a couple hours, boom, we're already at 10, which is a very, very big run-up. But the question is, why did it go to 10, and why did it stop at 10? And when you look at the Nasdaq BookViewer, you can work your way down on the sell list. You could see there's not that many sellers out there up until we got to a very big block order at that $10 price range. And then from there, you can see how it just backed off from $10 down to $9.
Yeah, and we can see on the next chart as well. We talked about iceberg resistance before. Now we're looking at support. And to your point, you kind of get in those areas there's just vacuum.
And with that vacuum, you have to remember, like I just said earlier, you cannot have a support and resistance level without the buyers and sellers to support it. And everyone makes that mistake. They constantly could look at, oh, where was the stock in the past? Where's it now? But when you look at this example right here, this is a stock that's what's called channeling. It's channeling within the price of $8 and $10. It hits resistance at 10, it comes back down to 8. It hits resistance at 10, it comes back to 8. Now, what I like about this example is what I'm trying to show everybody, that there's really only two big boxers in here. There's a fighter at 136,000 share looking to buy at that 9, and there's a seller which is going to come up right around that 10, which is on the next slide.
Right.
So they're kind of battling it out. And then what happens here is that, when you see that buyer's not getting filled because it's what's called consolidation, the buyer outbids the seller. And then it took the seller out, because remember, he's got 134,000. That other trader only has 35,000 shares.
Right.
So when that guy ended up getting done, that trader got done at 30,000, boom, and then the stock ran all the way up to $12 a share. And that's how you kind of understand and learn breakouts.
Right.
And that's why it's important to use the BookViewer to kind of give you that sort of a game plan where to get and when to get out. And even that, when people look at this, they're like, oh, it's a triple top. Listen, triple tops is one thing, sellers are another.
Right, yeah, for sure. And our last stock here, INAB, it's interesting how the day traders identify some of these stocks. I'm not even quite sure what INAB does. You think I should probably know that as we're discussing it. But, before we even get into the chart here, what's your process for identifying these names? I imagine you have some filters that pick up, lots of volume or extreme price movements.
That's a great question, and I get that question all the time, Jill. And the first place you always look at is most day traders look at the big percentage gainers and losers. That's about it. And to get to your point about what do these companies do, we really don't care what they do. It doesn't matter, because by the time we're in and out of it, we're just looking to make money. That's what traders look like. Same thing like any other Wall Street trader. I mean, they have a job just to trade. It's not our job to do the fundamentals on it. It doesn't work as for us.
Right.
So we're like the Marines. We're like the first people in. We get in, we analyze it, and then if somebody wants to be a good swing trader or an options trader, it all starts from a day trade, because then they want to, oh wow, the stock has good momentum. But like your question before, it's all about looking at the big percentage gainers, and that's really how we kind of find them. And sometimes you don't have to risk a lot of money to trade, and that's another misconception people have, because you see some of these stocks are very inexpensive, and you don't need to always go out there and think like you have to deal with the brand names.
Right.
And that makes it a lot more difficult.
Yeah, it's like by the time you read the research report, you could have been in and out of the trade, which makes it so remarkable. So let's take a look at your last set of charts here and how you guys are trading INAB.
Yeah, INB was a very inexpensive stock. This stock was just the other day, really big support levels, 45,000 share buyer out there. You could see here that there were a lot of 1,600 share buyers, 900 share buyers. And what was nice about this stock is that it's just another double bottom stock, hits the support levels. And what I wanted to point out with this one is, like, some people don't realize that you could do very well in trading, and you don't have to have a good amount of movement for the stock to go up. Like here's a stock that just literally hit that support level. The buyer outbid the seller. Stock took off. If you saw the buyer out there, if you got in at that support levels, right at that $2.85,
right.
and the stock runs up to 222, 37 cents, 1,000 shares. I mean, you're talking a $370 profit. You did pretty well.
Yeah.
So, and that's, that's what more traders look at. We look at things as more cents than more of a dollar amount. But when you add more shares to it, yeah, it's more money. But you don't have to kill it when it comes to trading. Most traders will only look like to make $1 a day. That's about it.
It's better than losing, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, Fausto, we appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.